I think so.
Okay. So Mac, when we met, you started your story in 2007 with an accident. Can you tell us about that? We'll start there.
2007. That was about a year and a half after my last divorce. I wrapped my Harley around an oak tree. I think it was an oak tree, but it wasn't very pretty. It was on my birthday. I was drinking and driving, doing stupid stuff, drugs. And as I look back at it, I think I was on my last suicide run. That wasn't the first time I tried to commit suicide in my life.
So after that accident, which at that point you were an addict, did you have a point of reckoning after that accident?
Well, it took me another year and a half before things went really downhill in my life. I didn't give up the drinking or the drugging yet. Me and my girlfriend at the time got into a hassle, so I went homeless. That was late 2008, early 2009, in which I ended up at the Grace House. So that was my epiphany, if you want to call it, that I needed to change something in my life. Just even at that time, I wasn't quite sure what it was or where to go to find out.
So you kind of alluded to this, but talking about this not being your first suicide run, take us back to Mac at 15.
15, that was the first time that I tried to commit suicide, going through juveniles, foster care, jails. I lost hope. I come from a dysfunctional family. Not much love shown other than I think I was 11 years old when my mom and dad divorced, and I still think my first name was Dammit. So.
You also had a mental illness diagnosis when you were 15.
They did diagnose me back then. Of course, the treatment was 30 days in a state hospital. Thorazine was the medication back then. So not much support in my life, so I went, I've been on my own since I was 13. That's when my stepdad kicked me out. So was back on the streets trying to survive.
How did you feel after you had the diagnosis?
Well, at that time, it was just a normal part of life. It was the way I was raised. Don't show your feelings, be the tough, strong guy and figure out how to survive. My grandfather always instilled into us, if you know it's broken, you better learn how to fix it. So, I covered it up, drugs, alcohol, most of my life, for almost 40 years. I knew how to fix it. I was fully functional. I never went without work, never had to worry about being able to afford someplace to live. Maybe not have been the nicest place a lot of times, but it was dry,
Yeah. So let's go back to post-accident, your 2007 accident. What was, you kind of talked about going into Grace House was sort of the turning point for you, but what was the final straw that just made you decide to get sober?
Well, I was at Grace House and I couldn't even carry my suitcase in. That's how busted up I was. I broke my back, I broke my neck, cut my right ear off, got a gash in my skull. Just nowhere to go. A lady from Northland Counseling came over, was one of the housing people. I call her my guardian angel. Reached her hand out and says, I think we can help. That was my first introduction to our community, other than the bar life. And I moved into the apartment complex, but it was right next door to Kiesler, at the old Kiesler house. And it took a few weeks, days, months, whatever it was, for me to get introduced to the Kiesler house. And I seen what they were doing there, giving back and showing care, showing love, something I've never seen, even though I'd been married and divorced. I didn't really know people to empower me, not to feel sorry for me, but to empower me and give me a path to go, other than the destruction that I'd done myself. They introduced me to a MICD group, and I knew if I was going to stay sober, I had to figure out what was going on upstairs, and until I could mesh the two together, I wasn't going to understand it. I have a hard time reading things and comprehending, but the way they explained it to me, that my addiction was fed by my mental health was fed into my addiction. So I had to start thinking positively. They seen something in me that I don't know if I knew it was there or if I just lost, never seeked. I've been in a lot of different programs, like I said, through the judicial systems that I wish I'd have paid attention back then, but I didn't.
So you kind of talked about, again, a reoccurring theme with you is that through the Grace House and through the Kiesler, people started seeing some leadership qualities in you, some positive qualities in you, where you could potentially help others. Was that surprising when that started happening?
It shocked me. I mean, I can be on a construction site and tell people what to do, but and I can fix somebody else's problems, but to show them how to accomplish that themselves, that was something that I didn't realize I knew how to do. But with Steve and Amanda at the time,
at the Kiesler
Wellness or Kiesler House at that time, they really seen it and gave me that opportunity to get back on my feet, so to say.
Do you see what they saw in you now?
I do, but I'm humble. It makes me blush.
So tell us. Oh, you can keep going.
But I mean, they Amanda's no longer with us. She moved on. But Steve, I mean, he still sees that in me, and he gives me those opportunities to look forward and look for new ways of helping our people, everybody's people, the community, and going forward. I walk tall and I hold my head high because of the opportunities that our community has given me.
So tell us about what you do now at Kiesler.
Well, at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, I would be shooting in a pool tournament. We teach or inspire socialization skills, interpersonal skills, being in a safe and sober place and not being judged for your past, but looking forward to who you are and giving back to our community. We use a lot of laughter, and the guys that do come and join us, and even the gals that come and join us, I try to encourage that because I like a good challenge. And we use a lot of humor. We empower each other, even though I may not be as good at pool as I think I am, but they boost me on. So the wood shop, I have never been taught the formal way of wood shop, but I remember wood shop back in my youth, and most of my teachers had one or two fingers gone. I could never figure that out, but I get people in there that maybe didn't have the opportunities of being able to use these tools, and they're fearful of them. But I had a young lady join the group the other day, and I ran that saw one time. I said, good, now you can run it the second time. And we'll continue on with that. I have another lady that wanted to build a stand. We don't do the work for them. We encourage them to test their skills. High anxiety is one of the biggest struggles. Believing in ourselves is another big struggle. So we encourage them to believe in yourself. Give it a try. You know, I don't know if I can do it if I don't try. If I've been, you know, for lack of better words, beat down in my life and said, you'll never amount to anything, how am I going to know if I don't get out and try? So that's what I try to instill on everybody that I'm around every day.
So you've been sober for over 10 years now.
Yep.
What do you still struggle with?
Driving by that last bottle shop in town. If I can make it past that one, I know I'm going to be all right. But I have supports every day, even with my mental health, with my chemical dependency. In May of last year, I was blessed by God again. I got married for the 4th time, and she's another angel in my life. The struggles, the issues, the triggers, they never stop. With mental health, a lot of them we deal with on a daily basis. When I first started my road to recovery, I was taking 14 pills 3 times a day for physical and mental health. Today I'm down to 1 a day, and my doctor's probably going to be mad because I don't take that one regularly. And that's just for high cholesterol. It's that healthy diet, you know. So, I mean, with the Wellness Center at Kiesler and the staff I work with, my directors, everybody shows me that concern and helps me work through them. But I know I didn't lose any services. I still have my therapist on speed dial. At any time during the day, if I struggle, I can sit down and talk it out. I need to get it out. That was one thing about my road to recovery is I remember going through an anger management course. And I found out after the end of that 4 months, I wasn't mad at the rest of the world. I was mad at me. So as soon as I got that anger out of me, I feel I started to grow. And every day I grow. Every day something new, something exciting, something funny that I just truly enjoy. I enjoy coming back to my work every day. And this has been the longest job I've ever held in one spot. Usually every 5 years I'm on the road and I'm moving or divorced. But I threatened my wife the other day. I said, you ever leave me, I'm going with. So we got that one planned out.
So I'm going to ask what I asked Lee, and that's if you could pick an age to go back and give yourself some advice, what age would that be and what would you tell yourself?
I would say probably the age of 14, the first time that I was introduced into the system. You know, because I had a lot of opportunities and a lot of good programs. Now that I look back, you know, it may not have been ideal, but there was people in my life trying to help. I just didn't see it. You know, and when you cover it up with drugs and alcohol, you're not going to see it. It's just like putting blinders on. You're going to go your way. The stubbornness, you know, me stubborn. The stubbornness is going to keep you driving down that path. Until you take those blinders off and see that there is a world out there without the addiction, without the chemical dependencies, and people willing to talk to you instead of at you. You're not going to grow. You're going to be stuck. You're going to be spinning your wheels in the mud. And I did that for a lot of times. But you have to believe in yourself too. If you don't believe in yourself, you're still stuck. 83, I lost my leg. 2007, I broke my back. First phone call after I woke up in ICU was from my first ex-wife, and she says, I don't know how many lives you got left, but I think you've used a few of them. That stuck in my head. And I don't hate this woman, I just don't like talking to her.
So, lastly, speaking of wheels getting stuck in the mud, where's your first motorcycle ride going to be when the weather turns?
I usually go up Scenic Highway because I love the country up there and cut across to Ely. So it's just out where the traffic's not. And I usually, my goal is every year on my birthday, because that's the same day I had my accident, that's when I take my first ride. Whether I got to push the bike across the snowbank or not, I still take my first ride. My goal for this year is to get more miles than last year, so I think 1,501 this year. Because it's not that I don't enjoy riding, just life gets in the way, and I like to be involved. And you know what we've got going in our community needs to keep going, and if I can be there to help, I'm darn sure I'll be there. And the one thing I did realize in all the miles that I've traveled and all the life experience that I've got, my grandfather and my grandmother always instilled in me that it takes a community to raise a child. At 50 years old, I was that child. And all I can say is thank you to our community for being who you are, because without you, I wouldn't be here. I would be probably back in that bottle. So with your encouragement, your help for programs like this, we're going to keep going and growing, because that's what is important to me.
Thanks, Mac.
Thank you.